Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. I still remember the exact way Angela sat on the sofa that evening. Her hands were folded too neatly in her lap, like she had practiced it in the mirror. The wedding was 4 months away. I had spent the afternoon reviewing contracts with the caterer, assuming the hardest thing left was finalizing the seating chart. I was wrong. "Robert," she said, her voice flat but rehearsed. "I need a no-contact break to find myself." The words hit harder than if she had screamed. A no-contact break. It sounded less like a conversation and more like a line from a podcast. My first reaction was disbelief, then a quick burn of anger that I refused to let her see. I kept my breathing steady because I knew if I raised my voice, she'd hold that forever. I leaned back in the chair across from her. "Sure, take all the time you need." Her head snapped up, surprised. She had expected resistance. What she got was silence and control. "You understand?" she asked, eyes darting to the window instead of meeting mine. "You said you need distance." "I respect that," I replied evenly. "No texts, no calls. That's what you want." She hesitated, then stood. "This will make us stronger in the end." I didn't answer. She disappeared into the bedroom, came back with a small bag. No tears, no hug, not even a real goodbye. Just the front door closing behind her. I sat there staring at the sofa cushion she'd been perched on, the space beside me already feeling foreign. I could have fallen apart right then. Instead, I stayed still, the decision forming in my head with a calmness that surprised me. If she wanted no contact, she was going to have it. Completely. I set my phone on the counter, walked into the kitchen, and poured myself a glass of water. Tomorrow, I would act. Tonight, I would simply sit in the quiet and let the room get used to her absence. I woke up early the next morning, long before the alarm. The apartment was quiet. I brewed coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and made a list on a yellow notepad. No anger, no theatrics, just bullet points. The first line read, "Pack Angela's things." I went room by room with boxes I'd picked up from the hardware store downstairs. Her books, neatly stacked. The framed photos. The drawer full of skincare products. Not rushed, not sloppy, just methodical. By noon, the living room was filled with stacks. I called a courier service and arranged delivery to her sister's house in Ohio. They asked if it was urgent. I said no, just regular pickup. Angela wanted space, and I was giving it to her, packaged and signed for. Next on the list was utilities. I pulled up the accounts where her name was attached and removed it. Electric, water, streaming services. My place, my bills now. One by one, I cleared her digital fingerprints. The last task was harder. The wedding venue. Clara, the coordinator, had sent me the final balance reminder last week. I opened the portal, stared at the non-refundable deposit, and felt a dull ache in my chest. Still, I filled out the cancellation form, attached a copy of my payment receipt, and hit submit. The confirmation email arrived a minute later. I closed the laptop and leaned back in my chair. For the first time since she walked out, I felt the apartment breathe differently. Lighter. When evening came, I sat on the sofa we once picked out together. The boxes were stacked by the door, waiting for pickup. It struck me how quickly life could be reduced to cardboard and tape. But I didn't let the thought linger. This wasn't about punishment. It was about boundaries. Angela said she wanted a clean slate. I was simply making sure she got one. The courier collected the boxes the next morning. I signed the form, closed the door, and stood in the empty hallway. By noon, my phone lit up. The first text was short. "Robert, I'm ready to come home." I stared at it for a long moment, then typed, "That's not a good idea. Your belongings are already on the way to your sister's." 5 minutes later, the calls began, one after another, filling the screen with her name. I let them go to voicemail. When that failed, the messages switched tone. First confusion, then anger, then desperation. "What do you mean you sent my things? This isn't funny. Robert, answer me. Please, I made a mistake. Don't do this to us. 6 years can't end like this." The flood didn't stop until late afternoon, when the name on my screen changed. Maya, her best friend. I picked up. "Robert," she started, skipping pleasantries. "You need to be the bigger person. Angela's in pieces. She just needed time. Don't throw everything away because you're angry." "I'm not angry," I said evenly. "She asked for no contact." I'm giving her exactly that. Maya sighed into the phone. You're being cold. Don't punish her for being scared. She only listened to bad advice. Advice from who? I asked. She stumbled. Julian, just someone she talks to. Julian, I said slowly. That's the name you said. Her breathing caught. Who is he? I pressed, still calm. Maya's voice dropped. He's someone from her past. They dated years ago, before you. I think they started talking again recently. That's all I know. I let the silence stretch. So Angela asked for space to find herself, and meanwhile she's testing old ground. I didn't say that, Maya shot back quickly. I shouldn't have even told you this. You didn't, I replied. You slipped. But it explains a lot. The line went quiet for a full 5 seconds. Then Maya cleared her throat. Look, Robert, I shouldn't even be in the middle of this. Just think it over. I have, I said, and ended the call. I put the phone down, opened my notepad again, and added a new line. Document everything. If Angela wanted distance, she was going to learn what real distance looked like. 2 days later, an email from the wedding venue landed in my inbox. The subject line read, "Follow up on your cancellation request." For a moment, I thought it was a routine confirmation. It wasn't. I called the number at the bottom, and Clara, the coordinator, picked up. Her voice was polite but careful, like she was stepping through a script. "Mr. Whitman," she said, "we did receive your cancellation request. However, I also spoke with Miss Angela Morris yesterday. She informed me that the request was submitted in error." "In error?" I asked, keeping my tone even. She stated that the deposit should remain on file, not released, and requested that it be credited toward a future event under her new business registration. Clara paused. "Because both of you are on the contract, I'm unable to process either instruction without a joint statement." I let that sink in. Angela wasn't trying to get the money back. She was trying to freeze it where only she could use it. Not theft, not yet, just control. "So right now," I said, "the funds are locked." "That's correct. Unless we receive notarized consent from both parties, or a legal directive, the deposit remains frozen." "Thank you, Clara," I said. "Please send me the policy in writing." She promised she would. When the email arrived 10 minutes later, I read it twice. It was exactly what I expected. Bureaucratic limbo, and Angela knew it. She was betting I would rather walk away than fight through paperwork and procedures. This wasn't about a wedding anymore. It was about leverage. That evening, I looked around the apartment. The boxes were gone, the shelves empty. Yet somehow, Angela's presence lingered in the fine print of contracts and deposits. If she thought she could trap me with red tape, she underestimated my patience. If Angela wanted to turn this into a game, fine. I would play it, but by my rules: facts, dates, proof. No arguments, no screaming matches, no emotional leverage. Just a clean record. Before shutting the laptop, I drafted a short email to Angela. "Your belongings have been shipped. All joint accounts are closed. Please direct any future communication to the email. I will respond in writing only." The message wasn't for her. It was for the file. The envelope came on a Monday afternoon. Plain white, my name typed on the front, no stamp of authority. Inside was a 4-page letter Angela had typed up herself. At the top, in bold, she had written, "Reimbursement for shared expenses." She had listed everything with the precision of a bookkeeper. A desk chair, she said, she bought in cash. Kitchen gadgets, she claimed, were hers. Even half the rent from our first year together, though the apartment had always been in my name. The total came to $8,260. She underlined the number twice in red ink, as if that would make it real. At the end, she added a line that read like it was copied from a template. "Please transfer within 14 days to avoid further action." I read it once. I didn't feel shock or anger, only clarity. She wanted to play games with paperwork. That was fine. Paper was something I understood. That night, I opened my laptop and began building my own file. I titled it Reconciliation. The first page was a simple summary rejecting her claims. The second contained a scan of my credit card statement showing I had paid for the desk chair she listed. The next few pages included order confirmations and receipts from Amazon. Every single item she had marked as hers was documented under my name. I attached a copy of the deed to the apartment. proof that she had never once paid rent. Then I added my own numbers. The non-refundable deposit at the venue, locked in limbo. The cost of shipping her belongings across state lines. The final utility bill she had promised to handle, but had ignored. Each one was backed by receipts, dates, and confirmation emails. The total came to just over $3,000, money I had lost directly because of her decisions. When the file was complete, I drafted a closing statement. I offered her two paths. She could sign a notarized release allowing the venue to cancel the contract, and in return, I would absorb my losses and walk away for good. Or she could refuse, and I would file in small claims court using the evidence in front of me. No threats, no anger, just options. I converted the packet into a PDF, attached it to a short email, and hit send. Then I closed the laptop, sat back, and exhaled. The move was hers now. For 3 days, there was nothing. No texts, no calls, not even a reply to the email. The silence was heavy, deliberate. I didn't chase it. I spent my evenings running, clearing my head, coming back to an apartment that finally felt like it belonged to me. On the fourth morning, Clara from the venue called. Her tone was brisk, but lighter this time. "Mr. Whitman, I wanted to let you know Miss Morris has contacted us. She requested the notary language you outlined. It seems she's moving forward." That was confirmation enough. Angela had seen the file and realized she couldn't win. The notary's office was downtown. She was already there when I walked in, sitting stiffly in the corner chair. When she looked up, her eyes flicked across me like I was a stranger. "Robert," she said, her voice strained, "do we really have to do this? Couldn't we just talk?" I sat across from her, placed the documents on the table. "We are talking. These are the terms." Her lips tightened. "I never wanted it to get this far. I just needed space." "You asked for no contact," I reminded her calmly. "I respected that. This is the result." The notary came in, adjusted his glasses, and slid the papers between us. Angela hesitated, the pen hovering just above the line. For a moment, I thought she might try one last performance, some plea about love or history. Instead, she sighed, pressed the pen to the paper, and signed her name. The notary stamped the page, handed us each a copy, and the sound of that stamp echoed louder than anything else in the room. Angela looked at me once more, searching for something. Anger, regret, maybe a crack in the calm. She found nothing. I stood, nodded politely, and walked out. By the time I reached the parking, Clara's email notification had already hit my phone. The date was released, the deposit resolved, and the contract officially closed. For the first time in weeks, I felt the weight shift off my shoulders. Not joy, not victory, just finality. After the notary meeting, the apartment felt different, lighter. I spent the weekend moving furniture, repainting one wall in the living room, and selling the sofa we once picked out together. I wanted no trace of Angela's taste left in my space. Each change was small, but together they shifted the energy of the place. A week later, Clara sent a final confirmation. The venue contract was closed, no further claims possible. I archived the email, moved the entire reconciliation file into a folder labeled Complete, and left it there. No satisfaction, no anger, just a record of what had been settled. Angela didn't call again, but a text came late one night. "You've rewritten our story to make me the villain. You'll regret how you handled this." I read it twice, then deleted it without replying. There was nothing left to say. Word filtered back through mutual acquaintances. Julian had disappeared once he realized there was no money or support tied to Angela anymore. Maya stopped contacting me entirely. From what I heard, Angela had moved back in with her parents, spinning a new version of events for anyone who'd listen. I didn't care. People would believe what they wanted, and I wasn't in the business of managing her narrative. I focused on my own life. Morning runs, long hours at work, dinners with friends I'd neglected during the engagement. Slowly, the routines settled into something steady. Some nights, the apartment still felt too quiet, but I didn't mistake that silence for loneliness anymore. It was peace. Angela once said she needed a no-contact break to find herself. I told her to take all the time she needed. She did, and in the process, I found myself instead. The story didn't end with reconciliation or revenge. It ended with clarity. Sometimes the only way to honor someone's request for space is to give them exactly what they asked for, completely and without hesitation, even if it means boxing up the past, sealing it with tape, and never looking back. Thank you for watching.